Dr. Michael, I wanted everybody to hear from you, what a secretagogue is, right? So they have a better understanding because this is also, of course, meant to be educational, right? And I'm just going to give you the high level. Everybody can see it on the screen, but a secretagogue basically is a substance that secretes, right? Kind of extracts or pulls out another substance. So a substance that secretes another substance is kind of what we're doing, right? In terms of the actual, we're going to talk about the ingredients, but the ingredients. But before you jump in, I want to just explain the slides. I was talking to Chip earlier today, Dr. Michael. We had another in-depth conversation, and it was because of that conversation we've talked about this, but it's the first time we're really talking about it to our network, and it's ghrelin. This is what's really happening inside your body. This is maybe the most important slide for all of you watching, just to give you the high level of what's happening when you're hungry, right? What's making you hungry? You guys have all heard of the brain gut connection, right? So what happens when you're kind of in a fasted state, in other words, you haven't eaten for a while and your body or you start thinking you're hungry, what's happening is this hormone called ghrelin is in your body. It's starting to be also secreted by your body saying, hey, I'm hungry. But how does it do that? It goes from your gut microbiome, in other words, where the hunger pangs start, and it goes up your vagus nerve into your brain and says, hey, feed me. So that's what happens. It says, hey, I'm hungry. Then you feed it. What, right? So you start eating. That's kind of the process. And so then what happens next? And this is the big, sort of key letters, I should say, keywords that everyone's been hearing about this peptide, GLP-1. So as you start eating, what starts happening is your body then starts secreting this hormone to tell you, hey, maybe you had enough to eat. And how does it do that? It sends the signal to block the ghrelin, right? So the ghrelin's saying, hey, I'm hungry. And then your body starts eating, and then GLP-1 gets activated. Again, this is a hormone, again, inside your gut microbiome, and it starts blocking the ghrelin, and then it sends signals to your brain. This is the GLP-1 saying, hey, you're satisfied, you're full, however you want to say it. So Dr. Michael, I wanted to kind of deep dive into these um, two things that we're getting your body naturally to get secreted, which is the peptide GLP-1 and PYY, right? So GLP-1, again, just for the sake of everybody watching the screen, is like we said, it's a hormone. It's delivered from your gut. That's why we're talking about the importance of gut health, right? And it's what tells your brain that you are full. And PYY, similarly, is another hormone that suppresses the appetite after you eat. So, do you want to dive into that at all, Dr. Michael, and explain a little bit more about GLP-1 and PYY?
So the bioactive protein that we have access to through Chip Marsland, who developed this technology, which makes us so unique. This fermented protein is bioactive. It's known as the secretagogue, and it produces a GLP-1 at elevated levels of 2,800% and the PYY at 10,000%. Both of these are the hormones that control appetite and cravings. Both of these hormones then, those go through the intestinal mucosa into the gut, and the ability to, as you see, the results of the study that were done for 3 months with the product showed that an average, each two capsules you take have an average of 6.5 hours per day of hunger control and suppression. And the average 70% daily caloric reduction per person was a result of this experiment. 95% reduction food noise. Food noise is a big issue in the ability to have better appetite control, because food noise creates all that problem of craving for food. It's a very emotional component of intake of food for weight loss. So the satisfaction was high as far as your satiety, the being satisfied was high and averaged greater than 6 hours after consumption. And like I said, GLP-1 increased 2,500% and PYY by 10, 11,000%. That's significant because our body is doing that due to the bioactive protein stimulating the GLP-1 and PYY. And that is unheard of because the injections do not do that. The injections are just a momentary mimicking of stimulant of the GLP-1 in the shot, and not even PYY results from that shot. So this is why our product works not just as good, if not better, than these injections without the side effects.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So, Dr. Stephen, I wanted to have you elaborate a little bit on one of the key things that Dr. Michael just talked about, because we're going to talk a lot more about this moving forward as we get into systems and helping people lose weight and helping with the systems we're creating. But I will talk a little bit about what food noise is. That's a big thing that we're going to talk a lot more about. But I wanted to really educate our audience what food noise actually is.
Well, most people will identify food noise as cravings. Okay. So, and so, we can't get enough of food. It's like maybe it's all we can think about. Some people, food noise to them is it's all they can think about. They can't eat enough. They'll eat dinner, 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, a half an hour later, they're going back to the cabinet and they're pulling more food out. Do they need to eat it? No, but they wind up with this insatiable appetite. They're lacking things. They're not necessarily getting all the nutrients that they need. So food noise comes and drives people to continue to eat. And there's a lot of reasons why that could be. Gut issues are one of them. So, but food noise can be different for every person upon their perception of what they feel their food noise is. The product, from what we know, many people say, I have no more food noise. It's gotten rid of all of that. So they're getting rid of the cravings because their body's functioning to a much higher level. It's functioning better. So it's not seeking more nutrients, more food. It's not out of control. A lot of times food noise will be linked with insulin resistance. So they're not burning their calories, they're not burning their fat calories, they're burning glucose calories. So they're intaking food, they're getting glucose, and then they're burning that glucose, and oops, wait a minute, I have to eat more. The body's signaling I need to eat more, even though they don't. They've gotten their caloric intake, but they just can't seem to get enough.
Let's talk about what's inside Curbix. People are probably wondering, okay, what is it? Like we're talking about, it's a double agonist. It's a secretagogue. It's secreting, the hormones naturally. But what is making it work? You can see here, this is a supplemental facts panel. And it's basically a peptide, which is a protein. Proteins are peptides, right? Dr. Michael, you want to talk a little bit about this protein at all? Oh.
Well, this polypeptide is labeled as a GLP-1 polypeptide secretagogue because it simulates the production of the GLP-1 and PYY. It's the predominant ingredient in this product, but the product also has berberine HCl. Berberine is a product that helps blood sugar, but the reason why Chip Marsland put berberine HCl in it is it actually acts as a permeation agent that helps the GLP-1 and PYY penetrate the intestinal mucosa, and it keeps them intact to help them penetrate. And besides the berberine HCl, it has the MCT, caprylic acid, capric acid, and lauric acid, which are important also to the ability for the GLP-1 and PYY to permeate, and also the glucomannan. And glucomannan is a blood sugar regulator as well as a permeating agent to help the GLP-1, PYY to get through that intestinal mucosa.
Okay, so here's the bottom line, everybody.
So this is a really significant product for us to be able to
Let-
have this,
Yeah.
and because of what all it does.
So at the end of the day, this is a protein. This protein is very unique because most peptides, believe it or not, if you guys have heard of peptides, you can do the research. These peptides are made from unusable parts of waste, like animals and fish and skin and bones. Those are what most peptides are made out of. And this is a peptide, but it's actually made by us, our partnership, right? So this protein is actually grown. That's why it's so unique. That no one's going to have this product. This is not a formula put together with some ingredients you can buy anywhere else. This is literally a manufactured and grown protein, and the source of that protein, believe it or not, is milk. And nothing to worry about for those of you that have like lactose intolerance or anything like that, because it doesn't have lactose in it. It's just we grow the protein through a milk base, right? It's the best quality source to grow this protein. So it's a protein that's a secretagogue, which is what, by the way, when I say unicorn, I'm emphasizing the word unicorn because this is not available anywhere else, will not be available anywhere else. And for those of you who keep asking, I can see this launches Saturday. Let's jump into that a little bit more. So right, we're kind of towards the tail end, Dr. Michael. We've kind of talked about this a little bit, but this is some of the documentation that you wrote this for the people that were on the trial starting in, I think, mid-November. The most important things here: food intake. Explain why fermented food is something they should add into their regimen when they're taking Curbix, and why they should be eliminating, for obvious reasons, the starches. Explain that a little.
Well, because of the standard American diet and stress and all the toxins we're exposed to daily, our gut is significantly affected by these things. It begins to break down the intestinal mucosa. So we've got to have a daily intake, and I prescribe this for all my patients, daily intake of fermented foods to build up the good bacteria. The more good bacteria you have in your gut microbiome, the better your gut functions. You start healing that leaky gut, and examples of fermented foods would be sauerkraut, kosher pickles, refrigerated, which are the refrigerated pickles, kombucha tea, kimchi, kefir, and plain yogurt. Any one or more of these products or foods should be eaten every day to increase the bacteria, to improve the leaky gut, and to counter the effects of the standard American diet, which plays havoc on our gut. And leaky gut is the #1 cause, and we'll talk about this more as Robert referred to it next week, but leaky gut is the #1 cause of all illness. At least 90% of the illness in this country is from leaky gut, and 95% of the country suffers from leaky gut.